So we've talked about Richard Murphy before. Yeah, Richard. Yeah, just double check I got his name right there. Richard Murphy before. Um, he is probably one of the best sort of UK experts when it comes to tax out there. He has a very good blog, writing and talking about the UK tax system, its ins and outs, its intricacies. Someone who is very knowledgeable about um, tax and what it is and how it all works and how we can improve it. And I think that is the important thing here, how we can improve it. Because not too long ago, and I think I've mentioned this before, um, he wrote a very lengthy piece on the wealth tax, because this is something you've seen repeated, for quite some time. Oh, we need a wealth tax. Oh, we need a wealth tax. Oh, we need a wealth tax. Now, I used to be very much in agreement of that, and I still am, but I am more with where Richard Murphy has gone, that actually we need to look at more effective ways to tax wealth, not just saying a wealth tax, because in his article he says, well, look, in his blog, he wrote about it. He says, look, you're going to start at least, uh, again, it's not the true numbers, but you're going to start maybe like I don't know, we'll just say, £100, just to keep it simple. You start 100 for the first year. The next year, you may find it may go down to 80. And you may find that just gets less and less over time, because what do rich people do? They spend a lot of money into putting things in tax avoidance. So there are better things to sort of tax sort of a lot of wealthy incomes on, and sort of stuff that we could very easily see and do. And one of the things I have talked about and other people have talked about as well, when Labour get into power, they are going to have to look at ways to really get into that tax sort of income and sort of tax more of that properly. One of the things we saw very recently was talking about Labour getting more people into sort of HMRC and sort of digitizing more of HMRC. Um, I think we can all agree, if you live in the UK, forever being on the phone when you try to have a problem, trying to ring HMRC is a nightmare of epic proportions that we all simply dread. We've all been on the phone for hours. I say that as someone. Uh, Probably most people in the UK have certainly that experience. That, oh no, I've got to phone up HMRC. How long is this going to take? I know some people that have been on the phone for days trying to get through. But there you go. Um, so, uh, yeah, we're going to go over something he posted in the Guardian. It's 5 points. I really want to go over these 5 points because I think these 5 points are well worth going over. And once again, I've said about talking about a wealth tax. I think we need to sort of once again move on from a wealth tax and say, well, actually, these sort of types of changes that we can do would be a lot more effective, and that we could see a Labour government do in the future. So I am looking forward to that. Hold on a second. I have right, and we're back. Yes. So where were we? Yeah. There are a lot of very effective ways we can do this, and I think putting going over some of these 5 points that he's put forward in an article in the Guardian today. He's written about these points on his blog quite a few times in a lot of very good detail. So if you do want to go see that, go check out his blog. If you put in his name, you will be able to find it. I think his blog's called tax matters. I think someone will tell you down in the comments down below, but do leave it down in the comments, and I will sort of make sure people see it. But I think it's called Tax Matters. I think I can't remember off the top of my head now. Should have looked it up before. But anyway, on to these 5 points, because I think they are well worth going over. But before we do go over those 5 points, please do remember to click on the like and share button. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page, the one affiliation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can all buy me coffee, the YouTube thank you button. And of course, as always, thank you very much to all those people who do help support the channel. There is the YouTube subscription, the Pony Club we've got down below as well. And of course, the YouTube thank you button. So thank you very much to all those people who do help support the channel that way. So what are these 5 points? Well, his first points and things that could be sort of implemented is, first of all, charging capital gain. Charging capital gains tax at the same rate as income tax might raise over £12 billion of extra tax a year. I think that would be very, very good. I think matching that, having that same sort of capital gains and income tax rate on the same level would be good. Most rich people do not get an income. They do not have a income. They do not earn. They get more through capital gains. So once again, you look at a wealth tax, that is far more effective than just a generic sort of wealth tax that most people sort of do and advocate before as well. This next one I think will be quite interesting because this one is charging VAT on the same on the supply of financial services which are inevitably consumed by the best off. This could raise over £8.7 billion of extra tax a year. These would actually be quite interesting. So, according to them, this would apply to the fees of banks, financial advisors, pension consultants, mortgage advisors, um, and most of whose charge do not carry VAT at present. So that's not necessarily a bad idea. I think putting a VAT on these types of services and charging for, so I think this is something else that should, I think, be looked at more because we often think of VAT as very something physical, and very often it's not. But I think we need to look at, the more sort of we do go digital, looking at services that are provided where very often there isn't a physical element involved. I think this does sort of need to be looked at a bit more. But again, hey, 8.7 billion pounds a year tax extra. Hey, that's pretty good. I can't disagree with that. I am quite interested for that. So that will be, I think, quite good. And I think also looking where else we can apply VAT to sort of digital things as well might also be sort of quite a good idea as well. So the third point he brings up is charging an investment income surcharge of 15% of the income from interest, dividends, rents, capital gains, and other such sources might raise over £18 billion of extra tax a year. The lower rates could, of course, be charged, and annual tax-free allowances could be given. So, once again, this is looking at where do you tax incomes that, again, aren't traditionally sort of charged. Rents, probably the biggest one. Capital gains, again, dividends, again, something else we should be looking at sort of charging and taxing. So whether we go down that route and it is sort of that way we do it, or maybe you sort of bring on those both together of matching the income tax rate to the other rate possible. But again, it's a good idea that, again, Labour could do, and of course take that forward. Number 4 he brings up is charging national insurance at the same rate on all earned income. Wherever it is above the amount of statutory minimum, this might raise up to £10 billion of extra tax. Again, not a bad idea. A lot of people do not really factor in what we could actually do with national insurance, and where you could say, oh, that now needs to be a national insurance payment. I do think that would actually be quite a good thing to sort of look at. I think you look at sort of the biggest earners, and you can sort of tag a lot of like national insurance income off those, which would add a ton of money. And part of the reason why you need, I think, to really look at national insurance, not just, of course, funding for the NHS, but of course, pension things as well, where this could be added to that. Can we sort of finally increase, the pensions of the UK? Maybe if you do something like this, maybe that is possible. We've also got to look at that we do have an ever increasing aging population. So maybe we can look at maybe more national insurance goes to social care and things like that as well. There are a lot of things that you have to look at where you are changing tax. Just because you get this extra amount of money, then it's okay, where does that money that the taxman now raises, where does this go? And I think that is just as valid a question as, well, what can we do to raise more tax money? The next question should be, well, okay, now we've raised that money, where should that be looked at? Where should that go? Where are our priorities on this? And then this is one of the things I've said before, HMRC, expanding HMRC and investing in HMRC. This is quite important that we do this. So number 5 is investing over £1 billion into HMRC. That's His Majesty's, sorry, I'm going to say Her Majesty's, His Majesty's Revenues and Customs, so that it might collect tax owing by the UK's 5 million or so companies, when 30% of that sum goes now unpaid at present, might raise over £12 billion a year. So think about this at the moment. You've got companies out there that should be paying tax, but it just goes unpaid because there's just not enough people in HMRC. The HMRC doesn't have sort of the capacity, the capability to sort of do it. I think expanding HMRC would be incredibly good. I think investing that amount of money into HMRC would be incredibly good as well. I think digitizing some of the stuff that we do in HMRC. One of the best examples, the nightmare scenario I'm sure many of us have had to go through at the moment, um, paying sort of past sort of contributions. That is a nightmare because you have to phone up, you have to talk to HMRC, you have to then not that this is where it gets so ridiculous. You then have to sort of tell them on your screen, which you can see and they can see, what you want to pay. They then give you a code. You then have to write a check. That check then when why on earth can I not just log into HMRC and go, oh, I see I've on amount of paid of you know um national security back 4 or 5 years ago. Why can't I just make an online payment and do it there and then? Skip all the phoning up of HMRC completely out, right? Um, there's so much HMRC actually needs to be sort of really looked at and sort of invested in. So I think doing that would be an amazing thing to do, especially because if you live in the UK and you've had to phone up HMRC, you know the pain, you know the dread that physically brings to you sometimes having to do it. Especially as well, if you're an accountant, you've probably spent your entire January probably on the phone at some point or another to HMRC. So yeah, definitely something that does need doing. So do let me know what you think to some of these ideas that he has put forward as well, because I think some of these are actually quite good ideas and should be sort of advocated, and Rachel Reeves should be taking notice of and doing herself. And as I've talked about before, these are the type of ideas that should be brought forward to sort of Rachel Reeves. Okay, Rachel Reeves, why aren't we doing this? We can raise this amount extra much of money of tax. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens, of course. But again, go follow Richard Murphy's blog. I think he's very good, especially when it comes to talking about tax. Very, very good, very deep insight into sort of our tax systems, the problems it has the changes, and of course, that we can make to that. So as always, thank you very much for watching. Please do remember to click on the like and the share button on your way out. And of course, as always, we'll see you all next time.